From the ABC7 News Bay Area Instagram account, U.S. facing worst wave of anti-Muslim hate in 30 years, report. And they caption it, the Council on American Islamic Relations, the largest Muslim civil rights organization in the U.S., released Fatal, the resurgence of anti-Muslim hate. Its 2024 civil rights report. The organization calls it the worst wave of anti-Muslim bigotry witnessed in its 30-year history. And you can see the top comment here. I see more anti-Semitism in the Bay than Muslim hate. And that's exactly what's happening here. We've had several cases ever since this Israel-Palestine thing. That's the only talking point for either side is, oh, you're an anti-Semite. Oh, you're anti-Muslim. And it just never ends. But when you have people in California who make this their calling card, who make this their go-to, right? First it was just regular old racism, and then it was stop Asian hate. I don't know, the Mexicans didn't really do it. They were illegal, so they can do whatever it is they want. That aside, no matter what happens, it's always going to be the worst wave of hate. As soon as you just disagree with one thing that somebody says, they're going to call it hate.
In 2022, CARE saw a significant drop in complaints, and
just spit it out, lady. This is going to be painful.
And we were hopeful. That hope was brought to a heartbreaking end in October 2023.
It's also fairly strange how you notice I do want to go through a couple of the comments here, but they don't turn these off, right? So if you go to one Transformer post about Transformer Day of Visibility or Pride Month or whatever, on the very same account, they will lock those comments. But this, which one could argue is far more sensitive than the delusional Transformers, they let this ride, and you can see, some spicy comments.
Zahra Billu is the executive director of the Bay Area chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE. She says the Israel
CARE. Perfect. They love that. They take their cues from the Democrats. So yeah, we're going to call it CARE. It's spelled a little bit different, but it's pronounced the same because we're operating under the assumption that if we just give it a nice sounding name, then everybody's going to buy it, kind of like Antifa.
It says it right in the name, Antifa, anti-Semitism, which is what they were there fighting.
The Hamas war set off a huge spike in anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian sentiment and hate crimes across the U.S. The Bay Area was no different.
Our data in the San Francisco Bay Area is consistent with the national trends, and unfortunately, in certain instances, even worse. We've seen a
okay. Could this have anything to do with the fact that you guys are blocking up traffic on one of the country's most populous, most traveled bridges? Could that have anything to do with it? Or are you just crying, oh, they hate us because get the
number of violent crimes in the San Francisco Bay Area.
On Tuesday, the National Office of CARE issued their 2024 annual hate crime report.
And these people are so privileged, you people, they're so privileged, whatever their supporters, their ilk, that they can block up traffic on the Bay Bridge and the airport and JFK in New York. They can do whatever it is they want and then come back and say, you should drop the charges, and then claim that people hate on them? What?
Report titled Fatal, the Resurgence of Anti-Muslim Hate.
In 2023, CARE reported a 419% increase, reporting 607 complaints of hate crimes or hate incidents.
CARE reports it received over 8,000 complaints, the highest ever in its 30-year history, even more than after the 2017 Muslim travel ban and during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan post 9/11.
Unfortunately, it's American tradition that when we are at war, including proxy war, for example, here where we are funding Israeli military actions.
One could also make the argument that they are partly funding Gaza as well.
That whichever communities or countries are being attacked abroad are also dehumanized right here in the United States.
The buzzwords, this is just absolutely crazy. And I cannot stress enough, I do not have a dog in this fight because, as we know, kids, you're both just awful.
Kids, you're both just awful.
But am I going to side with the faction that wants to control speech at every possible turn? Shout out to the ADL. Or am I going to side with the people who are blocking up traffic on the Bay Bridge? It's going to be a no for me, dog.
It's gotta be no, dog.
States.
The report documents employment discrimination, targeting of pro-Palestinian activists and suppressing free speech, even students being bullied.
Wait. Targeting activists? When you guys are blocking up traffic and you're targeting the entire population of the Bay Area, and then somebody comes back and says, "Oh, we don't really like you." Is that what counts as targeting? This is absolutely insane. And of course, I should not let it surprise me, because it would be more outrageous if one thing made sense in California.
Not just by other students, but in some instances by teachers as well.
Both that the rhetoric has become more hateful and that rhetoric has translated into violence.
Another big concern is that the data suggests that 85% of the Muslim community does not report hate incidents or discrimination, possibly due to fear of retaliation, losing their job, or mistrust of law enforcement. Bilu believes, despite this new report,
Bilu. Okay, yeah, all right.
the real numbers are likely even higher.
Oh, yeah. So there's a report, but I don't believe that anyway. It's more. It's worse. What? So what? There's no baseline. There's no reality. Just say and do whatever it is you want.
Excuse me, ma'am. No porn at the bar.
Oh, it's okay. I'm transgender.
Oh, I had no idea. Do whatever you want all the time.
Create all the chaos, all the protests, block up the street, go downtown, spray paint stuff, harass people, and then when there's a little bit of pushback, you say, "Oh, well, that's hateful." And, this report says there's X amount of hate, but I think there's X times 2. You can't make this stuff up.
Part of our work includes continually encouraging them to come forward, even if they don't want to take action, even if they don't want to go public. We can't tell our community stories without data.
Okay, this victimhood narrative has spiraled completely out of control. And, of course, I assume there's another video floating around Instagram right now that is the exact equal and opposite of this. So you got the other faction saying, well, it's anti-Semitic, and they're perhaps a little bit more powerful, but you're not supposed to say that. And just some of the comments here. I see more anti-Semitism in the Bay than Muslim hate, probably correlated with folks tearing down American flags and raising Palestinian ones in U.S. cities. That exactly happened.
On Tuesday, Oakland freelance reporter Zach Haber posted this picture of a Palestinian flag flying over Oakland's Fremont High School courtyard.
Well, don't burn the U.S. flag and people won't hate you. It's not a war, it's genocide. Oh, I got the talking point. Really? Are you sure about that? San Francisco politicians like Senator Scott Wiener and the LGBTQ community, like the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, openly mock Jesus and Christianity. You don't see any politicians or gay community mock Islam like they do Christianity. I'm gonna go ahead and co-sign that. We'll stop supporting terrorists, inciting anti-Semitism, and putting the Palestinian flag all over the place. No one wants it here. Okay, all right, that's enough of that. But yeah, like I said, this victim narrative has just spiraled completely out of control, and nobody is willing to take even a tiny ounce of responsibility for anything.